Welcome to Novice Newbies, where I will show you some DIYs that I'm either trying out for the first time or that I'm relatively new at. The idea is that we learn together, get creative, and have some fun. So let's get into it.
Hello, if you don't know me, my name is Jessica Salos, and I like to try new arts and crafts and see how I get on and if I can learn a new skill. So today what I'm gonna attempt to make is a Highland cow with needle felting. I'm very new to needle felting. I've only done it once before where I crafted a little sheep and it was okay. So we're gonna try to make a Highland cow today. If you don't know what needle felting is, it's you take a little needle and you poke at wool enough times that it turns into a shape. It's kind of cool. So you'll need a few things to make it. So the first thing that you'll want to have is a mat. So I bought myself a little kit that came with a whole bunch of different things that I needed, which was fantastic. The mat, so that you're not ruining your floor or your hand or whatever you're poking at. It's a safe space. You're gonna need some wool, so I just grabbed whatever brown wool I had for that. You're gonna need, this is the handle that you hold for your needles. They do often break if you're not being careful, and it just kind of happens to everybody, so don't worry about it. But these are the needles that come with my kit. I have a few different sizes. I just kind of took one that was halfway and hoped for the best. And I have some pipe cleaners that we're gonna use for the legs and maybe the horns of the cow. I think that's about it that you'll need for this project.
Here I'm starting by crafting the legs. They're made with pipe cleaners. When I made the sheep a while back, I remembered that I made the legs too long, so you'll see that I'm cutting them a bit shorter. I used brown pipe cleaners, even though they'll be covered with wool. It's safer to use a color that's similar to the wool you have. Each strand makes 2 legs, which is why I'm only having 2 of them instead of 4. First, you need to take a piece of wool and make sure that you wrap it tightly around the pipe cleaner and that you wrap it in a way that you can't see the pipe cleaner through it. I really struggled with this step the first time I tried it, and this time I remembered to make sure it was tightly wrapped. It wasn't as bad. Once you've wrapped the wool around your pipe cleaner, you can start to poke away at it with your needle to secure it in place. I also remembered from last time that giving it a roll definitely helps it along. Once you've finished, you can do the same thing to your other pipe cleaner. Now we're getting to work on the body of the cow. I was a bit worried that I wouldn't have enough brown wool to make my entire cow, so I decided to use the gray to make the main part of the body and then cover it with brown wool on top. Joke's on me though, I ran out of wool in the end anyway. To make the body, you take some wool and wrap it into an oval shape, and then you just start stabbing away at it until it is firm and it keeps its shape. I probably shouldn't be calling it stabbing, but I guess that's what you get when you're a newbie and you don't know the terminology yet. I'll call it needling. You may wonder how this all even works. The needle itself has little ridges on the side of it, so when you needle into the wool, it creates sort of like a mat, and then the more you needle into it, the more firm your shape becomes. It almost feels like magic when you're doing it. Here you can see I'm adding the brown color on top of my body to get the color I want. I'm not too concerned about how it's looking because actually the entire body will be covered in the end anyway. I see I decided to forego the protective gloves here. I must have been feeling very brave. Okay, body done. Time to attach those legs to our body. This is quite easy actually. You just use a piece of wool to strap on top and then secure it on top and on the bottom. Do the same thing on the other side. You may notice that I've sped up most of the tutorial when I'm actually making the cow. It does take time, so it's a good exercise to practice patience. Having said that, I don't think that you'd want to sit here all day and watch me poke away at this cow. If you need to, feel free to pause the video and rewatch anything you need to see again. Another thing I forgot to mention in the introduction is the fact that my kit also came with these little protectors for my thumb and index finger. If you try this for yourself, you'll quickly figure out why. It looks like I'm trying to put a head on the cow, but actually what I'm doing here is building up a neck for the cow. You can just roll up a little ball of wool and then needle in where you think the cow's neck should be. Okay, now we're going to work on the head. Create a similar shape to when we made the body, but smaller. And then, instead of needling the entire shape to make it firm, leave a bit of fluff on one side so that you're able to easily secure it onto the cow's body later. Before we secure it onto the body, we're going to work on the smaller details. So first we're going to make his nose and nostrils. I'm using a tiny bit of baby pink wool and creating a circular shape to tack onto the end of his face. Just gently place it at the end of the face and then take your time tacking it in place. Just take itty bitty pieces of black wool, 2 of them, and roll it into a circle and then apply that to your nose as the nostrils. Next up, we're making the horns. I'm using a pipe cleaner the same way that we made the legs, except this time I'm using a white pipe cleaner and white wool. This is probably about 2 to 2.5 inches in length. I feel a bit like this took me forever, but eventually we got there. Needle felting is a great time to be doing some reflection. If ever you say that you don't have any time to think about stuff, this is the time. I'm telling you right now. You're just sitting there poking at this cow for ages with nothing but time to think. Okay, we're going to attach those horns onto the head now in the same way that we attach the legs. Just grab a little piece of wool and tack it on either side to secure it in place. You might want to make sure that, like you see what I'm doing here, the horns are even on both sides before you really have it on tightly. Oh, look at him, he's so cute already. Okay guys, we're almost there. Now the reason the Highland cows are so famous and cute is because their fluffy coat. Take a piece of wool and you'll see how I tack it halfway through my strand and then fold it over to create that coat. I use this method on the end and in the front as well. For the center of the body, I just take a strand and lay it over the body and then tack it straight in the middle. Try your best to create a straight line here because you will see it when you've completed your cow. I continue to do the same thing across the cow's back. I use the same method at the cow's neck as I did on the back when we started, tacking it halfway through the strand and then folding it down. Cut away any excess wool. Now for the fun part. Take another small strand of wool and place it over the cow's head and secure it behind the cow's horns. This time it doesn't get flipped back because the Highland cow has that coat right over its eyes. I just took the rest of the wool on the back and placed it to the sides. I trimmed the wool in the front and then I felt a bit like a hairdresser trying to sort out some face framing layers and curtain bangs. In the end, I left some of the wool right in front, but then I tacked some of the excess over to the sides and I felt much better about the way it looked after I did that. It was a bit awkward before. I also didn't really show that I added more wool to the back actually, where I felt that it needed a bit extra. Okay, that's it guys. I hope you're going to try it out for yourself. I have mine on my desk and they're so cute and not too difficult to make if you have the time. Cheers!